Hey everybody, welcome back. Had a fun time yesterday with Anchor, Beck, Nardo, and wow, I can't believe I forgot the name. Nardo, who else? Really can't remember. And Taz, Jesus Christ, Taz. Thanks for joining, guys. That was fun. We're gonna do that again. Competition between who could build Discord landing page in 60 minutes. Taz with a surprising win or tie. We tied, but it was pretty surprising that he was able to do what he did with the old responsive engine. So that was impressive all around. Like great job. We're gonna do that again because I think a lot of people like that. What I want to talk a little bit about today is Xano and the $5 million raise that they just did. I want to take a look at the announcement that they gave and just give my thoughts. It was a it seems they started 2 years ago, I think, in 2020, or at least they released a product in 2020. I'm pretty sure that's true. Let's take a look. Let's take a look on LinkedIn. Xano, very small company, not only 9 employees, and it's really surprising um, how much they've done with such a small team, and it looks like they have raised a little bit in the past. It looks like they have 400 and half a million almost in seed funding, and I'm trying to find the year. 2014. No, so I'm wrong. Not 2 years ago. 2014. They have been around for a while. A little longer than I thought. 2 years after Bubble, which makes sense, right? So that's how they've kind of gotten so far with what they're doing. And I recall Bubble saying that they wish they had raised earlier. They felt that Bubble notoriously bootstrapped and got to where they were for I think 7 to 8 years before they took any large funding. They had a small, I think $5 or $6 million funding round in the beginning, or not even in the beginning. It was like 2019 that I think they took that, and then in 20 maybe 21 they raised that giant round of 100 million. Which they said they say today that they wish they would have raised that a little bit earlier. I guess because it would have been easier to scale up some of the product features and things that they had kind of in their minds. Maybe they could have gotten to that a little bit quicker. Um, I guess, but it seems like Xano is kind of taking almost that going the other way of not waiting too long to raise some funding, and they've taken 5 million, which is pretty small compared to the giant cash infusion that Bubble got of 100 million. So let's see what they're saying in this announcement. Since our launch in January 2021, more than 20,000 businesses have started using Xano as a backend to power and scale their applications. We could not have achieved such fast growth without an amazing supportive community of builders. I'm one of these. I'm in this community. 20,000 businesses. So I guess that means that there's 20,000 like accounts with Xano. Is that safe to say? More than 20,000 businesses? Does that mean that that's kind of like their user count? That would make sense. Today, we're excited to announce that we've raised a $5 million round led by MHS Capital, joined by Engineering Capital and a handful of amazing angel investors. This funding marks an important milestone on the road to accomplishing our broader mission to empower anyone to create scalable world-class software. Now, I'm not sure whether Xano plans to go into the like front end stuff. Right now, the way that I'm using it, I think the way that most people are using it is for a back end. So I don't know if they plan to kind of take on some of those front end components and start enabling people to build a front end to what you can do. I don't even know. I honestly don't even know if that's possible today. It may be, but I haven't seen it. I've been using Xano pretty in the last, I want to say, 3 weeks. I've been going pretty deep on Xano, and I haven't seen any front end components yet. So we'll see. I honestly hope they don't. I hope they stay kind of this really, really neat and powerful back end tool that the other platforms that are working on front ends can really be the back end to that. Because in my opinion, Xano is probably the strongest database solution in the no code space. But I like it better than, I think it's better priced and positioned than Airtable is. I haven't gone too much into backendless yet. I did some research on it, and there were certain things that I just didn't. I think it might have been the pricing on it. I'm not sure. I don't remember what exactly it was that turned me off about backendless. Not that it turned me off. It just wasn't the right use case for what I needed. And that was Xano was definitely made more sense for the use case that I was having at that point. Today, Xano is the de facto backend that the no code community turns to when they want to build without limits. That's true. That's really true. It's a bold statement, and it's also true. We believe that this growth is due to a few key factors, including the developer shortage and the reality that today's software demands far outpaces the number of developers that can build. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a lot of what the tools are solving for in this space in general, is more of just the fact that there is a shortage of developers. We hear a lot like, oh, software engineers. Uh, I hear the sentiment that they're afraid that their job is going to get replaced, but I think that couldn't be further from the truth. It's the fact that there's not enough of them that gives reason for these tools to be useful. There's not enough people who know how to code. These tools are kind of solving that problem to enable a wider audience to be able to build useful software. We believe that this growth is due to a few key factors, including the developer shortage. I read that. This trend has given rise to a group called the citizen developer, namely business users who can develop applications for themselves and others using no code. I want to take a look at that too. Citizen developers in 2022. Even with this demand, many believe that no code should only be used for small scale apps or to build an MVP. Yeah, this is a very difficult perception to get past. I still hear this constantly with new clients that I'm starting to talk to. Everyone just thinks Bubble is an MVP builder. You can build a prototype, and it's not going to be able to do the complex font. And that's just not true. There's a lot of. It really depends on the use case that you're in, of whether or not these tools can do what you want. And within your use case, there's also a subset of tools that will make sense for that, right? So even if the idea doesn't work on Bubble, or Bubble is not the most efficient tool for your use case, you could still look at something like Flutterflow, which has a more mobile native experience. But you can get very complex logic and large scale from these tools. So it's something that's difficult to disprove, I guess, because it really hasn't been done in a way that's really public. And like, time will tell. I just think that it's Dwight said earlier this week that we need that hit single, the hit single where it just kind of shows everybody that what can be done, and that just hasn't happened yet. This reputation is largely due to the failure of existing no-code tools to address a few key areas that Xano offers its customers. Scalability. The infrastructure needs to meet large-scale applications, traffic, and processing power demands. Business logic. Creating unique software requires being able to express complex business logic. More than connecting one service to another via simple no-code integration is required. Yeah, great point. these security and compliance security laws such as HIPAA, GDPR, ISO 270. I don't know what that is. SOX compliance, I've heard of. This is in the financial sector. This is healthcare. GDPR is in the EU. I'm not very familiar with what's required in GDPR, but I know it's a big deal for companies that are based in the European Union. This is a problem. The fact that Bubble isn't natively GDPR compliance forces a lot of people to use a solution like Xano as their backend. Require measures like dedicated infrastructure, region-specific deployments, and compliance certifications. Interoperability. In most organizations, traditional developers have already built systems that house data and business-critical microservices that need to be integrated. Xano is part of a new generation of no-code tools that will enable the creators of tomorrow to build any app to scale without constraint. To establish ourselves as the best infrastructure for people to rely on, we're concentrating our efforts on a few central themes. Ease of use. We want to make Xano accessible for more people by simplifying the core experience and providing a template for faster deployment. This is one area where I think that they can probably improve a little bit. It's not that easy to get started. In coming off of Bubble, like I have a good idea of how backend workflows run, loops, while loops. Like I have a good foundation for that type of functionality, and it still took me some time to get up to speed in Xano. So I don't think somebody that's coming completely in as a non-technical person is going to pick this stuff up very quickly. There's a lot of non-intuitive stuff when it comes to databases and backend work that I think scares people away a little bit. But it's definitely introducing the way that these concepts are introduced to somebody that's totally new to this is going to matter. It's going to matter in how easy it is to use. Like I said, I had a strong basis coming into Xano for how backend processes are run, but it still took me some time to figure out what was going on here, what a function stack was, what a backend how they use tasks. They call it a backend task. The terminology is a little bit all over the place, and just it's very powerful. It's definitely very powerful, but it's also a lot to learn. It's a lot to take in. So ease of use and education are definitely going to be the challenges for them, and honestly, any other one. Bubble has the same challenge. Community and education. We want to grow our thriving community of builders and ensure they have the support and educational content they need to take their project to the finish line. Developer features. Xano is no code first, but developer friendly. Traditional developers love using Xano because it will continually build features that have prevented them from leveraging other no-code tools in the past. Developers will always be needed, and we always want to be the bridge for them to supercharge their abilities in no code. That's a great. See, they are targeting traditional developers with this tool, and I think that's super smart. That's very smart that they're doing that, and they're calling that out here because, again, if a traditional developer chooses to use one of these tools over coding, hand coding, everything, isn't that a re-endorsement for the platform? It's very. I think that's a community that the no-code tools really need to cater to. Because if that becomes part of the stack, Xano becomes and Bubble becomes part of the stack of traditional developers, and there's a time and place for them. I think that just makes it all the more important, and it demonstrates really the usability and why somebody would choose this over traditional code. I think that's great that they're calling this out here. There's also a lot of things that you can do with like Xano. As soon as you create a table, it automatically creates endpoints and Swagger documentation for your table. It's very useful. I don't think that is there anything else that does that where it's just like you build a table, you've got your columns, and it automatically sets up endpoints that you can call through an API. I don't know. I've never seen that. I've never seen that anywhere else. And specifically the documentation, it creates actual Swagger documentation. It doesn't just create the endpoint, but it creates the documentation for it. Xano has grown to tens of thousands of users purely through word of mouth. It's true, I don't really see them advertising that much. And it's because we're proving that with Xano, no code can be scalable, secure, and ready for the enterprise. We're just getting started, and there's still a lot of work to do. If you're excited about what we're doing, we're always looking for awesome people to join our team. Tell us how you can help by shooting us a note at xano.com. All right, so that's their announcement. They've raised their $5 million. They're definitely focusing on the scalability. That is the biggest question that everyone has when they approach these tools. Is this scalable? Can I scale on this? Am I going to have to move off at some point and work with traditional code? The answer is maybe. Maybe right now. You don't know. It really depends on the use case. But tools like Xano are addressing those specific concerns that and Bubble to some extent too. I think Bubble is starting to get into change their marketing a little bit from fast and easy to scalable and powerful, because that's everyone's concern. That prevents people from actually starting because they don't know how far they're going to get. They don't know how far they're going to get with the platform before they have to move off and recode it in React, which that's really not what anybody should be thinking about when they first have their idea, but that's where everyone's mind goes, and that's a reality. And I think that we all need to do a better job of explaining why that it is scalable and that there's a path to scalability starting from this point. Very important. I think that's a concern for just about everybody. Let's take a look also at the citizen developer. This is AI multiple citizen developers in 2022. Who are they and why do they matter? So I've heard this term before. I've never gone too deep on a definition, so I'm curious to see how they define what a citizen developer is here. There's a growing interest in application development in every business. IDC claims that there are more than 500 million apps will be developed in 2023. However, IT departments cannot meet the demand for new apps on time since they have expensive resources, other priorities, and require detailed specs from business to build apps. Citizen developers can meet the demand for business applications faster and with fewer resources. According to the Gartner study on citizen development, 41% of the respondents have active citizen development and initiatives, and 20% of those who are either evaluating or planning to start citizen development initiatives. All right, so let's see what they mean. Let's skip down here. So citizen developers are business users who can create their own applications with little to no coding knowledge. Citizen developers have no prior coding experience. That's why tools like low-code and no-code development platforms enable them to build their apps. Citizen developers are highly different from professional developers who use pro code, also known as traditional code or high code, all of these terms, to build the solutions. Pro code, traditional code, or high code. I like high code, I think, the best of these. High code. It just sounds so fancy. High code. The most important distinctions between no, low, and pro code is the amount of code required. While no code or codeless systems have a graphical user interface that enables developers to build solutions without coding, pro code platforms generally rely on code. The 4 segments: citizen developers using no code development platforms, citizen developers powering users using low code platforms, professional developers using low pro code to support business requests, professional developers using pro code to improve the company's technology. Citizen developers are the most crowded segment. End users and power users. Gartner expects that the number of active citizen developers at large enterprises will be at least 4 times the number of professional developers by 2023. Why is a citizen development important for business? Every IT department has the same difficulties. They're also responsible for developing enterprise-wide solutions. They have limited and expensive resources. Communication slows down the process. Business needs to share specs with IT. Issues in the communication process can lead to misalignments between IT. Okay, I kind of, I've read this before. I don't know how deep I want to get into this. Low code solutions have limitations that force citizen developers to focus on less complex acts that don't need interest in other parties. Some limitations of low no code solutions are limited customization options, limited flexibility, limited integration options, and security concerns due to partnerships with third party vendors. All right. Yeah, I mean, I get this. I think that they're really, to sum this article up, they're really just saying that there's going to be more and more people who weren't professionally trained in software development or coding that are going to be able to build software in the next 5 years, say, which I think is, we're all kind of on that trend at this point. We're all thinking about that, and it's just going to be a matter of how these tools enable us to to scale, what we can build, and just like how fast we can learn, right? Like there's a big learning component to all of this. Even though it's low code, it's really does not mean that it's not, there's no effort required to it. All right, so that's my thoughts on Xano and citizen developers in 2022. I'm going to check in next Monday at 7 p.m. Have a few guests coming on next week, so we'll chat then. All right, everybody, have a good week.